Welcome everybody to my 2019 NFL mock draft. These are the picks that I think that every team should end up making. All right, so let's get started with the first pick. You have Arizona. You draft Nick Bosa, who's definitely the best player in the draft. He's the most NFL ready. Regardless of what happened with his injury, he did the smart thing just to sit out, go get the bag. And they definitely could use someone to add something to that team. Besides Josh Rosen, they don't have any young talent. They don't have anybody. Pat Pete is getting old, so they need someone on the defense. Then you got San Fran. San Fran's in a really good place. They're the one team that's in the top five that will most likely make the playoffs next year. You add Jimmy G. You have a good D line already with DeForest Buckner. You have a good defense. You have Richard Sherman in the back. You most likely will end up signing Earl Thomas. You add a good pass rusher like Josh Allen for cheap. You can make a few other moves. And if Nick Bosa's there, you can bet it that San Francisco is taking him. Then you go to number three, the New York Jets. Look, the Jets made a big investment last year, and that was Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is a transcendent talent on the quarterback position, but everybody knows that if you have a quarterback, you got to protect him. Look, Andrew Luck, and look what he was able to accomplish. So you go to number four now. You got Oakland. This is the first of the three picks, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree because they need a edge rusher after losing Khalil Mack for a 24th pick, and who knows what it is next year. You got to go somewhere on the D line. And if Josh Allen isn't there because San Francisco took him, and Nick Bosa most likely will not be there at four, then you go Quentin Williams. He's the one guy that this year stood out and had the most impact on the Alabama defense. It was more than Deontay Thompson. Thompson, we'll talk about later on. But Quentin Williams, he splashed onto the scene. He proved that. He's a top five player. So Oakland could use whatever they can on that defensive line. Tampa Bay. Clinton Farrell, he said something very interesting. He goes, I'm going to be what Alden Smith should have been. And that is saying something. You're going in already putting a target on your back saying that you're going to be that good. Alden Smith was so close to breaking Michael Strahan's record for most sacks. So he can ball. Number six, could it get any easier than this? Kyler Murray. You already got OBJ, who's box office in New York. You got Saquon Barkley, box office in New York. Now you get a QB that is box office. You're selling tickets, and he has an arm. He's gonna get it to Odell. He adds another running threat with Saquon Barkley. He's gonna keep the defense honest. You got Odell. You got Sterling Shepard. You got Evan Ingram. Sure, and he can run away from that terrible O line. So now we got Jacksonville. And you got Dwayne Haskins, who everybody's calling basically the best all around quarterback. And no matter what, I don't think the Jags can afford to gamble on a quarterback like Kyler Murray. So even if Kyler Murray is on the board, I think the Jags should take Dwayne Haskins. This is barring as long as they don't trade for someone like Nick Foles or Derek Carr. You don't know about that either. And Jags were what one year away removed from the AFC Championship game. It's all on Blake Bortles. If you watch that game against New England, if you watched them this year, if you watched them last year against San Francisco, Blake Bortles is a huge liability, and he should have never been drafted in the first round to begin with. Nor should he have been given that extension last year. Number eight, you got Detroit Lions. You go Ed Oliver in this. They're used to having a good defensive tackle. They had someone by the name of and Ed Oliver's going to add something to that. He's 6'3", 292. What else do you need? He's going to add something just like Haloti Ngata did, who ended up going to Detroit. He helped them. They had Sue in the beginning, but then they got Haloti Ngata, and he can be their next defensive tackle they have. Then you go number nine, the Buffalo Bills. Rashawn Gary, if he falls this far, you'll have your two fundamental defensive pieces. You'll have a good linebacking core. You'll have corners. You have everybody. You add a DT. That's good. You're giving Josh Allen some help. You're getting him the ball back more. Well, let's go number 10 to Denver. Look, Hakeem Talib's gone. Chris Harris Jr. says he can still play a little longer, but who knows? You never know. It's a cutthroat business. He could be traded anytime. Greedy Williams, just by his name, you know he's a ball hawk. He's 6'2", 182. He can cover anybody. He might be a little undersized by the weight, but anybody coming into the NFL is going to add some weight. Go number 11, Cincinnati, DeAndre Baker. A lot of people have him going really, really low, even second rounder this year, but Cincinnati needs somebody. Cincinnati doesn't have anybody besides Geno Atkins. They need to trade Andy Dalton. They need to get rid of AJ Green. They need to do a complete rebuild. But if you don't want to do a complete rebuild, you go get a playmaker that's going to get your offensive ball back. You go get DeAndre Baker. That benefits AJ Green. That benefits Joe Mixon. That helps the entire defense. Then you go number 12. You got Green Bay. Deontay Thompson is a very interesting pick at this. He's a big name. He played very, very well the first 8 games or so, but the last 8 games he played terrible. And that's just being nice. He had 2 interceptions this year and 2 the year before when he was backing up Miniac Fitzpatrick. And he has the necessary skills, but he doesn't have the IQ what it takes to read plays, which is why you have a bunch of people just blowing right past him. He has blown assignments, but the talent is there. If the coaching can get him done, he is a top 15 pick. He is a great transcendent talent that Green Bay could use after losing a player like HaHa Clinton-Dix. Number 13, you got the fastest linebacker in a very long time. He has that Patrick Willis motor. 6'1", 240. He can run sideline to sideline. He's amazing. Miami needs that guy on defense now. Everybody on that defense is getting old. You got Cameron Wake, and sure, they got Rashawn Moore. He's a safety, but that's fine. You need that one guy. The linebacker is usually the focal point of the defense. He's one of the, if not the most important player on the defense. He's a quarterback. Then you got Atlanta, Dexter Lawrence. Look, Atlanta has a very good team. It's just they've been dealing with injuries. But one thing they do need to add, yeah, Vic Beasley a few years ago had 15 sacks, but he's regressed. So you can look at it like that was his only one hit year wonder. Now you add Dexter Lawrence, it helps Vic Beasley maybe go back to that form. If not, you still got a 6'4", 351, a guy that knows how to win. He just won in college. Like, you have that guy. Now you go to Washington. Whatever quarterback's playing there, he needs protection. And Alex Smith is most likely going to be out the entire season, so you can see him taking a quarterback like Drew Lock maybe this high, or you can see him maybe trading this pick and landing Derek Carr. And don't forget, Jay Gruden and John Gruden, they're going to talk. There's no way that John doesn't talk to Jay about, like, hey, if you need a QB, we have one over here, and we might take Kyler. So you go number 16, you got Carolina. Look, Cam Newton is the most hit quarterback in, I don't know, maybe even all time at this point. He takes unnecessary hits. Greg Little he's a prototypical O lineman that you want. 6'6", 332, absolute beast. 17, you already got Baker Mayfield. You got now 2 running backs. You got Nick Chubb and you got Kareem Hunt. You got Jarvis Landry. You traded Josh Gordon. You got Njoku. You add N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry, he just needs to run a pretty decent 40. And if he does, then he will be drafted this time. But that's the one thing he lacks is speed. But route running, got it. Catching, got it. Catch radius, ', it. Big guy, 6'4", 213. Put him on the opposite side of Jarvis Landry, and you're good. 18, Minnesota. Kirk Cousins, this is year 2. No more excuse. Go out, get him offensive line. Let's see. It'll help Dalvin Cook. It'll help him, and let's see if they're about it. If not, they're gonna have to reconsider if they play him in year 3, or they trade him, or they look to cut him and look at the dead salary cap. So number 19, Tennessee. Tennessee's always had these interesting picks late in the round. They had Corey Davis, who's a top 5 or 7 pick, and now you got Zach Allen, who's a good defensive end, but he might be a reach at 19. But look, Tennessee needs someone to make some noise on that defense. If not, they might go running back with Josh Jacobs, but that might be a little bit too high for him, depending on how they feel about Derrick Henry still. If he can do what he did towards the end of the season, they'll keep him. If not, I can see him definitely moving on. 20, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't really have identity defensively besides TJ Watt. Yes, they got to it, but what else? They don't have anybody that can go out and cover the number one. Joe Hayden is old. Joe Hayden is on the maybe last or second last year playing now. Byron Murphy, he's 5'11", 185. He can be a cover corner in the slot. He can shadow a lot of good receivers. But Pittsburgh definitely needs someone on the defense. They still, no matter what, even if they lose an Antonio Brown or a Le'Veon Bell, they will have playmakers like Connor. They'll have someone like Juju. They might draft someone like A.J. Brown, but I doubt it. They need to fix that defense first. Go back to the old Pittsburgh days. 21st, Seattle hasn't had a good receiving tight end, and they need one. Noah Fant can be exactly what Jimmy Graham was supposed to be. He's explosive. He's 6'5", 241. Russell Wilson needs that big target. He doesn't have one. He has a lot of shorter receivers like Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett. Imagine giving him a 6'5" tight end that's supposed to be basically what Jimmy Graham was. So you go to number 22, and you got Baltimore. T. Sizzle is getting old. Look, you got C.J. Mosley. You don't know if he's going to be there next year. Maybe they'll use a franchise tag. Maybe they won't. But they need someone on the defensive end that's going to take on, and he will be taught by T. Sizzles. Houston, Deshaun Watson was hit a lot. They have receivers. They got Will Fuller. They got a Hopkins. They got a good running back in Lamar Miller. They're probably going to sign Jadeveon Clowney to an extension or the franchise tag. They got a J.J. Watt. They got a Merciless. They got these good pieces. They got a Tyrann Mathieu who's on a 1-year deal, I believe. He will come back, in my estimate. You go out, you sign an offensive tackle to protect your future quarterback. And then you go to number 24, the Oakland Raiders. This is his second pick. Marquise Hollywood Brown. He's a receiver from Oklahoma. 5'10", 170. Yeah, he's short, but he plays just like his cousin, Antonio Brown. But he seems a little quicker than Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown's route running is Hall of Fame great, top 5 of all time great. I wouldn't be surprised if Oakland did end up trading Derek Carr, and this is coming from a Derek Carr supporter, but if Gruden really wants to blow it up completely, he can trade Derek Carr, probably get a first rounder for him, take Kyler Murray earlier around, pair up Kyler Murray with Marquise Brown. But regardless, Derek Carr needs weapons too if he is the quarterback moving forward. So you pair him up with maybe trading a second or third round pick and landing AB, having the Brown cousins on the outside, that wouldn't be that bad. Now you go to number 25, Philly. Philly hasn't had that real identity on the running back position. Carson Wentz is clearly their future going forward, so they need somebody that can take the load off of them. Josh Jacobs, towards the end of the year, played very, very good. And he can be that one guy because look at what they did with Ajayi. They traded. It's just not working out. Darren Sproles is usually hurt. They have Smallwood, but these guys, they need that one it guy in the backfield, and that's most likely going to be Josh Jacobs. 26, Indy. Indy was what 1-6, and they ended up making the playoffs, or 1-5, and they ended up making the playoffs. They need somebody on that defense. Andrew Luck has proven time in, time out that he can carry that offense to the playoffs definitely, and maybe to a Super Bowl. So why not get him some talent on the defensive side? The offensive line played fairly well this season. I think they were ranked number 1, but I think you give a lot of that credit to Andrew Luck throwing the ball away, knowing what to audible in and out of, because they were exposed in the Chiefs game against Dee Ford, Justin Houston. So I think either they go offensive tackle or defensive tackle. And now we go to number 27, and you got Oakland again. So Oakland lacks a lot of things, as everybody knows, but this coming from a Gruden supporter, understanding what Gruden wants to do, you go get that quarterback of your defense, Devin Bush. Obviously, Devin White would have been a much better pick for him, but Devin White's most likely going to be gone by 27. Devin Bush is a very good playmaker. He played at Michigan. Um, Don't be surprised if the Raiders go safety and with Nazir out of Delaware, because they've loved the guy. He played for him at the Senior Bowl. He is from a lot of people that he's gonna go to Oakland at number 24, not even number 27. That they want him that bad. But for me, seeing it, they don't have a linebacker. They haven't had a linebacker in a very long time since Kirk Morrison, who's a tackling machine. So they need someone that can change the identity of that defense. So number 28, Los Angeles Chargers. Look, you got a young running back, Melvin Gordon. You got a young receiving core with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You got a good tight end, Hunter Henry. You got Melvin Ingram on the edge. You got Joey Bosa on the edge. You got Casey Hayward. You got all these playmakers. You got Derwin James, right? Why is it not working? Philip Rivers has proven time in and time out he can't get it done. He's been in the league for so many years. He's had a very talented team. He just can't get it done. Now it's time for them. They have a young team to groom a quarterback for a year. Give Philip Rivers one last ride. And if it doesn't work out, that is it. He is gone. You got to plan for the future. And Drew Lock will learn under Philip Rivers. Number 29, Kansas City. Kansas City was ranked with, I think, literally the worst safety in the league. Eric Berry was coming off an injury. Eric Berry will be fine. But you got to pair him up with somebody. You need an identity defensively. They have Dee Ford. Dee Ford cost them that game, lining up off sides. But Dee Ford most likely will be back under the franchise tag. But will he play under the franchise tag? That's the question. You got Justin Houston, who's on a huge contract. He's regressed. He's getting old. So now build that defense from the top down. Go safety. Let him learn from Eric Berry, Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State. Now you go number 30. You got Green Bay, who's the only who's the only team that has 2 first-round picks besides the Oakland Raiders. And you got Davante Adams, who was a stud from Fresno State. You got A-Rod. A-Rod, sure, he's been battling some injuries. He has a good O-line, though. Running back, yes, I can see him taking someone if like Josh Jacobs is there. But if DK Metcalf is there or AJ Brown, a 6'4", 230 receiver that can run, imagine giving that to A-Rod. You have DK Metcalf on the outside, Davante Adams, Jimmy Graham, new coach. You already picked a good safety. You're rebuilding this team to not even rebuild, to reload actually. Then you go to number 31. This is the guy that I think the Raiders might pick up earlier on. That's Nasir Adderley from Delaware. He's played probably the most underrated this entire year that not that many people know of. The best case scenario for the Rams is LaMarcus Joyner is leaving, so they end up with someone like him that can fill his void pretty quickly. But does he make it past the Raiders? Do the Rams gamble and take him? Do the Rams trust that Dante Fowler will sign back again? Or if Sue will sign back again? And if those two aren't, you take Jeffrey Simmons now. Sure, Jeffrey Simmons got hurt, but you look at it long term rather than short term. And then you got the champs. And this might be the scariest pick. If AJ Brown or DK Metcalf is there at 32, it is a wrap. Bucket. New England will draft one of them. AJ Brown, a 6'1", 225 receiver who can run just like his boy DK Metcalf. The league should not let this happen. If DK Metcalf or AJ Brown goes to New England, imagine what Tom Brady will do with them. Imagine what Bill Belichick will do with them. Imagine what Josh McDaniels will do with them. I can also see New England taking a quarterback just to groom him for the future. Maybe in 3-4 years he can play. But again, if they get a receiver, you don't know about Josh Gordon. They're still paying for his stuff, so they're hoping that maybe he can be back by next year. But if not, Gronk is getting old. Gronk is hurt. You don't have that it factor on the receiving core yet. Edelman shows up in playoffs, but Edelman also just got suspended 4 games last year for PED. Can you trust the guy? Hogan is not a good receiver. He's a good third or fourth receiver. He's the reason why he threw that Tom Brady threw that pick. And so AJ Brown or N'Keal Harry or someone like that falls to New England, you can book it. And then that's just all I have for you guys right now. This is what I think the team should do. Um, Obviously, this is a huge draft for a team like Green Bay, who needs Aaron Rodgers to get it going again. Let's get it into the playoffs. And then you got John Gruden and his Las Vegas Raiders. You have one last year in Oakland. You got to rebuild that entire squad. Are you going to get rid of Derek Carr? Is Derek Carr going to be there? Is Kyler Murray going to be there? Then you got a team like the San Francisco 49ers. You add a Nick Bosa or a Josh Allen. Then you draft somebody like in the second round that's a linebacker with Fred Warner. You add Devin White at number 2 or trade back. That's another team that can trade back. You can have a team like Philly that can trade up to go get a playmaker. You got other teams that are willing to move up to the number 2, to the number 3, to the number 4 spot. You don't know who can it be. But thank you everybody for watching, and if you can, subscribe and like what you think.